Thank you. Hi, dear ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much that you have enough time to hear this very, very interesting panel. It's a little bit of provocative questions as a topic of the panel, so we also left enough time for questions and at the end. So I think this would be very interesting. And now I would like to introduce my very exciting panelists. As the first one, Sarah Wiesner from Bitcoin Embassy in Tel Aviv. Please welcome Sarah. Then the second one is the Ben Bilski from NAGA. It's an only public listed company with an own coin called, of course, NAGA coin. Please welcome Ben. Then the next one is Dmitry Aranasenko from Bitfury. It's a specialist in government projects based on blockchain. Say hi to Dmitry. The next one is dear Luis Garcia from Aragon, developing decentralized organizations. And last but not least is Henok Tekle, founder at Alphachain and advisory in investments. So say hello to Henok. So then we will start with this very, very interesting discussion. And at the beginning, I would like to say a little bit of why this topic is actually very, very interesting. So we are now in a time where we have a lot of publicity going around Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and also a lot of talking how these cryptocurrencies are actually suitable with our financial systems, with the national banks, with the money that we have in place. And actually my first thought was, is this actually real, or is it not real in terms of disrupting capitalism, or is it just a Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies making just a feeling that here is something disrupting the financial systems in place and the regulatives in place? So maybe you have the mic, so maybe you can start immediately.
Sure. So my thoughts on that is, with the Web 3.0, with blockchain technology, this is an evolution of capitalism. We're moving to open source, which historically has been underfunded. This is unlike what we've had in the past where, centralized companies create products to compete for users. This is a different paradigm where now we have developers joining communities like Ethereum to create the world's biggest decentralized computer. So I think with that also comes an evolution in finance, where we've seen a disruption in venture capital in that projects can now directly raise money from the public without any dilution, issue out these tokens, which can then be traded on these secondary markets and, in a sense, create this own private economy. So I think they kind of operate in tandem, and we're in the very early stages, and it'll be very fascinating to see how this has evolved. This continues to evolve. It has already changed significantly just within the past year, where in an ironic twist, we're kind of moving back to a more VC style of, getting funding for these early stage projects.
So Henok, you're actually addressing that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are actually creating new value on the financial markets and in general on the markets, and not disrupting the present markets.
Yeah, I think it's still very early. I haven't really seen a valuation model that makes complete sense to me. I think it's still an open question as to how we value this new technology.
Thank you. Ben, maybe you can tell us about, because you are going in this a little bit of hybrid model of a bank dealing with different kind of cryptocurrency and of course a financial system in place. So maybe what is how do you see this?
Yeah, so you hear me, or yeah? Okay. Yes. I have the experience in raising capital the normal way, like via VCs, business angels, and going public also. So, I mean, we have shareholders. We did this whole IPO, not reverse engineered or something, so really proper IPO. And then I saw the blockchain topic, and I fully agree it is kind of enriching the capitalism. It's not, it's not disrupting yet. We are very early, I fully agree. But it's kind of a very nice add-on for kind of how we manage kind of financing and liquidation as well. I also fully agree that it's a perfect model to raise funds from the public. And I have a very harsh statement in terms of I don't like to be raped by VC. Okay, so this is kind of the thing, because usually when you start your company and you have a nice idea, they take huge stakes from you, you lose ownership, and in this way, I feel that the blockchain and the kind of the Bitcoin, obviously, it is kind of the icebreaker for me. So it is something that you drive with a cab, and the guy says, "What do you think about Bitcoin?" You know, so this is kind of it reaches the masses. They don't say, "What do you think about blockchain technologies?" because it's too complex. But it's kind of a nice, you know, catalyst kind of for the whole industry, and I think it's really enriching, but not disrupting yet. We'll see some disruptive things, I'm sure.
So Sarah, since you are really into Bitcoins, maybe you can give us a final statement on cryptocurrencies and Bitcoins, and then we just move to the distributed ledger as a system, as a technology.
Well, I think the current financial system and the capitalist system is broken, it's centralized, it's corrupt. And Bitcoin doesn't fix it, but I think it makes people understand faster what the problem is and how they're being scammed by the old system. I mean, we're in an over-leveraged debt-based system. Bitcoin is the opposite of that. So the more people learn about Bitcoin, they realize what the old system is like. So that, I think, will make the end of this old and dying system faster, but it's definitely not... it's not going to do all of the work. We have to, if we want to change society, we have to do it, you know, person to person. Doesn't matter what technology you have. You can't do it if people aren't aware of what they want society to be like. And it doesn't matter what kind of ledger you have. You can't replace the actual decentralization of the real systems of society, and not just like fake numbers, you know, on a computer.
Yep, thank you. So maybe now we solve that with Bitcoin, so it's not disrupting our financial system or our currencies in place. But let's go really to the topic that we actually have, and that's the blockchain and moreover the distributed ledger system, where we can actually also go for a statement to say it's making our systems in place more democratic. It's going against the corruption. It's because there are no intermediates where you can give bribery to, and it's making our systems in place now more transparent. So actually, if you are like a young person still believing in this world, these are just the positive arguments for the distributed ledger technology. So Dimitri, I would put forward to you, because you're working a lot with governments and putting distributed ledger systems in place. So how do you feel about it? Is it supporting our capitalistic system in place, or is it more disrupting it?
Basically, we in Bitfury, our goal is to spread blockchain technology around the world. First of all, to increase level of trust based on strict math, which is a simple concept. And we have built several government projects based on blockchain technology. And in those countries like Georgia, Russia, Ukraine, they have a critical level of corruption. And blockchain technology nowadays is, I would say, the only way to increase a level of trust and to fight corruption in those countries. And as for the blockchain technology in general, there are a huge market of different business cases that blockchain technology can help with, from simple titling of information to the blockchain to some more difficult business logic like supply chains or something like that.
Yes, I will also put it like that. Also, to say we have completely new possibilities with distributed ledgers and with the blockchain technology, because especially in terms of supply chains, we can finally put all the parties and goods which are having an interaction within a business into a very trusted kind of system, where they can directly communicate with each other and pull out the information they just need, and they know that these are on very high trusted level, and also in terms of cybersecurity and data security. So actually it's going to be a safer and a better system or Louis, because you are building this kind of decentralized organization. So, what is your opinion on that?
I'm gonna drop your mic. I think I'm very excited about the things that you cannot do today that you can do with crypto, more than the things that you can already do but are slightly better. I think there are like a lot of stuff, like I mean like a 12-year-old kid in Venezuela been able to create tools with the same tools as a kid recently graduated from Stanford or Harvard. I think that's super important. That makes the world clearly better, and it's a use case that like works today. You can have someone using Tor, using some anonymity tools to actually create value without any border or intermediary, and I think that's marvelous. I'm much more excited by this kind of like very crypto anarchist future than like making securities on the blockchain or this kind of stuff, or in private blockchains, or that's like this, you know, banks being more efficient. I don't care about banks being more efficient. Fuck them.
Yeah, but I would like to pick up on that, because that's really great, because what you said now, and it has a really high, very huge impact, because if we move towards a distributed ledger and blockchain technologies, then a lot of institutions, there is no need for them anymore, so they need to either reinvent themselves, or a part of it will die now, but I'm not a person who looks behind and more forward. In your opinion, what's going to be business models or organizations or institutions that can develop actually as a new ones, non-existing right now, in the futures around this technology actually? Because if we don't have any intermediates, there are going to be some new need of some services or whatsoever. Could you give us some?
Yeah. That's a very good question. I think crypto takes the principle of no marginal cost of software. Like basically, if you want to make a pizza, you have to invest on it. If you want to replicate software, it's free. So I think it takes it to the maximum. So it kind of kills rent seeking. And what we're seeing today is, you know, like 10 years from now, when I started doing open source software, it was like, oh, it's fun, but then I cannot make money. Today it's like I can maintain software and everything is open source, because otherwise you cannot trust it. You cannot trust a smart contract that is proprietary in the blockchain. And it's all open source, and then what you do is you create these crypto networks which are community run and everyone can participate in them. And I think that's amazing because it completely kills rent seeking, completely kills proprietary IP, trademarks, software, which is wonderful for opening up opportunities.
But maybe now I would like Ben to pick up also on this, and then after in the Henok, just to see, because you are within an industry, a financial industry, which is very big, very huge, monetary huge. So it has a huge impact if this industry like starts to you know, not exist in a certain way anymore. So how do you think will this transition, or is there going to be a transition, or how it is going to work from these systems in place, like a financial system that we have now? And if this comes with the Louis is like giving us an outlook, then it's going to be disruptive in some way. But it doesn't, I think it's going to be disruptive to the system, but maybe not to the capitalism, because
yeah,
how do you see the transition actually?
I think, yeah, there's a transition for sure. I mean, look at 1990s or so, when the banks were there was one DBA, and if this DBA disappeared, you had a problem. And I think that from an applicable way, blockchain is absolutely wonderful and beautiful. And everything, because we are more on the side that we use blockchain, and
yes.
or we try to go in that route from a business perspective. We're not like you know, we don't do an open source project, or we're not like these developers, which I very admire. We are using it, and everything that improves efficiency
yes.
has its right to exist, and this is where the blockchain. But in the terms of trust, I like this term trustless society, but I criticize the way of control, because the value or the amount of money is still like relatively low. We're talking about 400 billion. Compared to the financial system, it's not a lot. And there are some people controlling too much. So they kind of grind on that, you know, everything is free, whatever, decentralized, but they pump and dump the value. And this is kind of the thing that I'm kind of absolutely annoyed of. And when we launched our coin as well, I see people, you know, you have the irrational investor saying, pump it. That's it. You know, this is not the idea of blockchain, right? Or application. So, yeah,
course,
this is
but
just my take on this.
Yes, yes, but of course, but I would really say you have it everywhere. You know, you have
Obviously.
day traders working with money, and that has some impact on,
Yeah, you have it, and now,
on the market.
Now we have the chance.
Exactly.
You know, we have the chance, but people, you know, if this disappears somehow, if it's controlled, perfect, and then we have the transition.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Maybe you would like to pick up on that too.
Yeah, so I would say two of the most obvious problems to me with the current financial system that could be benefited by the blockchain technology is one is transactions. So, you know, if you can disintermediate a third party when two individuals do a transaction or two institutions, and especially if it's across borders, the economic value that you unleash with bringing that kind of liquidity is enormous. So if you think of entire institutions where you have a lot of kind of revenue and middleman fees with the level of risk that exists when you know you have counterparty risk, you have a great strain on the financial system. When you can have technology resolve this issue altogether, I think that's a tremendous benefit. The other is populations in developing countries that lack documentation, that are not included in the financial system. They don't have access to marketplaces. You know, how do we use technology to, you know, kind of bring these people within the financial system? And if you look in places like Africa, where you have high mobile phone penetration, what you're finding is a lot of projects targeted at this use case of banking the unbanked, and how do you use these mobile phones to introduce applications where if through a token, you know, you can have these people have access to marketplaces, to everyday services that, you know, their governments aren't providing them. So I think I would say those are definitely two that stand out, and something that we can welcome. I think it's a huge improvement on the, you know, on capitalism in general.
Yeah, so actually, what we are saying is that even the part of the world which are not part of our capitalistic system can be moved direction capitalism through the blockchain technology and through the distributed ledger, which is another magic of the system. So, well, I think we moved actually from the statement is blockchain and crypto disrupting capitalism to the statement blockchain is magic and is making the world better. So so this happened very quick on the panel. So maybe let's move there where the magic really happens, in my opinion, besides the financial system. And that's for me really some use cases in a supply chain management, and some use cases, how do we actually do our systems within the governments, within the corporate institutions and industries just more effective and just more efficient, and we should actually all have profit out of that as a society and as a community. Could you give us maybe, Dimitri and Louis, some examples how this magic actually works in terms of efficiency and effectiveness of organizations or of corporate organizations, actually how the magic happens, and then our world becomes better.
Okay, first of all, there is no magic. It's just, you know, science, math, and a little piece of code. Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, I also wanted to say on previous topic that
yes,
blockchain, no one knows, will blockchain be able to replace our current financial system or not? It's a question. It's a big question mark. But what I can definitely say that Bitcoin became a very, very huge PR for the blockchain technology in general, because Bitcoin was the first.
Exactly.
And thanks to this Bitcoin cryptocurrency, maybe one of the most obvious and simple ways to use blockchain, right?
Exactly.
Nowadays we may use blockchain technologies in different ways, and I'd like to say one case quickly.
Please,
to describe one case where we were using blockchain technology in Ukraine. We have a system called Sitam. It's a digital auction of arrested things. And it was working on the simple database. And you know, the level of corruption is high. And there was a situation when you were fighting for a quite expensive car on the auction. You are winning. And from the documents, you are not getting that car. And it's just, you know, different car because someone had an access to the database and a little magic was done.
Okay.
And that's
so
it.
that's magic and not the blockchain.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay, that's really magic. Okay, I got it now.
Yeah. Blockchain is very strict and mathematical stuff.
Okay.
And the magic is, you know.
is some things happen just. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And after integration of blockchain technology, this situation is just impossible because of the architecture.
So actually, when I'm looking to Estonia and what's happening there and what kind of projects the guys in Estonia are implementing within their government, so it's just, what's your opinion on that? And do you think this is the right way to move forward as a state, as a government? And actually, or is Estonia going towards even more problems, maybe just because they are just too early on putting their governmental businesses into a blockchain?
As for me, Estonian guys are doing a great job. Yeah. They are inventing a digital government in general, and they also use blockchain in some initiatives. And I think that it's a very long way, hard way, but I think that someone needs to be first, right?
Yeah.
So.
Do you maybe remember, or does anybody of you remember actually how long did governments or companies needed to get applications on internet after internet started, and you know how long this actually lasted, and from today when you come and it's normal that everything you have online, you buy online, you register online. So does anybody remember, maybe also somebody from the audience, how long did this development last, actually? Maybe you, Sarah.
Well, the thing is, these systems, the open blockchains, they're completely different than government. They're open and they're decentralized. They're counter to the governance system. So it's not clear that the government can actually wants to apply this because it's not in their nature. And there's a difference between an open blockchain and a closed blockchain. The open blockchains like Bitcoin and Monero, Ethereum are completely different than the fake buzzword of blockchains coming from the banking industry and from people that are selling, want to make $1 million creating a new coin. There's so much buzz about the blockchain, but developers, I think, have in a better place to tell, the bullshit from all the marketing information. I just think that's a very important thing to bring up in this state, because I think there's like probably 99% is complete BS information. I mean, I'm like really big on utopian futurism, and I love like the decentralized blockchain technology. But the big thing isn't the database, the blockchain. It's the decentralized consensus mechanism, and that has to be an open system.
Yes, exactly.
So I don't know if government can actually take it.
But if they move toward like Estonia did, and they made a decision to go for it, it doesn't matter if it works or it's good or not, but what do you think, which amount of time do they need to come there, or will they ever come there, or will they have like two systems in place and do this parallel, and just a blockchain system is just a try out, and we go with our old school systems?
At least 10 years, in my opinion.
10 years, that's okay. Luis?
I want to follow up on that, to like serve the other sort of extreme of it. Like Switzerland, for example, it's been a super friendly, like one canton, one like a state there called Zug. It's been super crypto friendly. I live there currently, so like I know by firsthand. They like everyone in the government knows about crypto. It's kind of weird because you talk to these people like with ties and stuff, and they all know about crypto. When you go to like go through the immigration process, if you are like a crypto person, they know it, and like they treat you differently. So I think that's super cool. Like seriously, if you want to do any crypto project and you want some legal certainty and you want a jurisdiction that treats you well, go to Switzerland. And I think this will create like a lot of jurisdictional competition. So you have like the states which will not do anything at all because they are like, oh, whatever. and you have the states recognize blockchain is actually a huge threat to their power, and they will be like, oh, it's better to get on this train and actually retain some small power and add value to my citizens that rather just lose everything, because in 50 years people will be fed up of us robbing them every single day. So you have these places who actually don't rob you, where banks are friendly and like the government is friendly, and they have figured out, it's better to get on the train than to miss it.
And another question, and then we move to questions from the audience. I would like to ask, what do you think about next generation coming, actually, the young ones? How do they see this? Will they only go for blockchain and decentralize and say, you know what, we don't like your old school systems and we want to go for this centralized system. We want to be free, we want to be interconnected with high transparency. We don't like your systems are just, very, very tightening us as a new generation. We are global, we are open mind, so how do you think how this next generation will actually react on, we are moving toward businesses because we finished universities and we are well educated, and then we have this like a little bit of older generation used to the old system, partially do not have a very high sophisticated understanding of the new systems coming out. So how do you see this? How this will actually move and have impact on what's happening in the next 10 years, as you, Sarah, says. So let's go for the next 10 years. Maybe I'll give it to you.
From what I've seen, I think young people love it because I went to a programming course for Ethereum, and the teacher was 17 years old, and he said, well, he can't take more than like $50 out of his bank account every day, no matter how much money he makes. So for him, it's real money. And I think I noticed that for young people, it seems they're much more natural to it. I think they grok it better.
Ben?
Yeah, I also agree. I mean, we are in this kind of time where people share everything and, are online by nature, and this is an essential part of the online world now, and there's enough information that you can access, and everyone. And I think also, especially what was mentioned, this underbanked movement is very, very important. So we will see a lot of people who skip banking kind of directly going in there. And so I think this is something that will be appreciated if used right. And the last question, just on the governments, we will only make the governments understand what we do if we talk to them. And if you build, you need to educate. And if you don't educate, then we will be just left out and alone, and we'll just all the time say, oh, look at those old guys, they don't understand anything. That's not fair. You need to educate them because we have the advantage that we are at the forefront, so we need to educate them.
Thank you. Dimitri?
Well, as for the youngsters, I would say that it is definitely their right to say that they don't like our system of our financial system, and they don't want it. They want it in other way. Maybe blockchain will help. Maybe something else.
Something else.
Yeah, I would say like that.
I think to add up to the points here, I think there's a huge cognitive dissonance between the world right now and the institutions like governments and banks and all of that. You can send packages to anyone on Earth instantly, but then to travel to the US, you have to go to a stupid visa process and then go through security, and they inspect everything you do. And if you work into crypto, they take you to another inspection and treat you like a criminal. Whereas in the internet, you just send packages around and it arrives immediately. You can, no matter if you are Venezuelan or you are from whatever part in the world. So then there's a huge dissonance. And when you are young and you learn about this internet, about this new thing and how things work, and you go back to the traditional world, you're like, this doesn't make any sense at all. So I think the youngsters are gonna love it and embrace it.
Yeah, thank you.
I think blockchain technology is definitely the next wave, and you're seeing colleges and universities make more offerings of blockchain courses. If you look at companies like Facebook, they recently had one of their top talents, the person who's running Messenger, which has the most users of any of their products. He's now leading their blockchain effort. And then if you look at just young founders like Vitalik Buterin, and also just kind of like the culture around cryptocurrencies, people are on Reddit or on Telegram. There's a lot of excitement and energy just kind of around, trading tokens and mining and things of this nature. I think it's going to definitely be the kind of thing that young people are going to gravitate to.
Thank you. So thank you so much for your statements and for a very interesting discussion. And now I would give over to the audience and for their interesting and I hope also a little bit of provocative questions so that it makes fun the last 15 minutes. So who wants to? Do we have a mics for the audience? Oh, okay, we have it already. Sorry. So Oliver is asking, if a blockchain is only sustained by a few parties, aren't we having the same trust issues as if the parties would just record their data in conventional databases? Who? Yes, of course, Sarah, please.
Yeah, that's totally true. If you have a blockchain system that's controlled by a few parties, it's centralized. It's true.
So
it's part of the disinformation confusion in this field.
Exactly. Dimitri?
I would say that there are mechanisms to make private blockchains more public. Those mechanisms called an architecture of sidechains or anchoring mechanisms. In our framework for basically private blockchains, we have such a feature.
Yeah.
And it makes private blockchain public, basically, because of you have to periodically publish a snapshot of your system to the Bitcoin or for Ethereum, and with these actions, you are getting enough publicity to make audit, to check data, and to make people know what's going on.
But actually, you are touching the regulation to a certain extent. So actually, where I need to ask this from my perspective, to ask you just, is it actually possible to regulate a system like a blockchain distributed ledger on a national level? Because you have actually a global system where, I don't know, some shipping goods from China to Latin America passing European harbors, and with so many parties involved and so many goods from different legal systems and from different countries, is it actually helping to regulate it once under the, I don't know, Chinese law, then European law, then US law, and everything else in between? So how actually this could work? Can it work?
Well, the question of regulation and legislation is one of the most difficult questions for the blockchain in general. As far as I know, some states in the United States of America, they already use blockchain information in courts.
Yes.
As a proof.
Yes.
So I think it's just a matter of time when the legislation comes, when the special laws come, and I think...
as always, legislation works, it's work in progress.
Yeah.
Just to help you out with
definitely.
that. So let's move to the next question from Mr. Anonymous. How to prevent from misuse cryptocurrency? How to fight against when not regulated, not paying taxes, financial crimes, and so on and so on. So who wants to? Louis? Yes, please.
I think we shouldn't try to regulate this at a national level because, as you said, it doesn't make sense to regulate like a global phenomenon. So I think the issue is this is kind of the internet revolution is kind of the same thing. Like in the internet, you have many things. People can do bad things. People can do cool things. At the end, like it's just up to humanity of how to use these tools. And what we have to do is we have to build tools that are made for goodwill. And then like we make open source software that may be used for bad things, and I acknowledge that. And we're trying to build it in a way that we we kind of focus on exploring how humankind can be more creative, how can be more free. And so I think that's the only way we can really do. We cannot fight or regulate crypto itself because it wouldn't make any sense, and it's just impossible from a technical point of view.
Actually, you have also like black money in terms of present currencies. You have bribery. People are buying illegal stuff like, I don't know, drugs, weapons, whatsoever, also with euros, dollars. So actually, are we doing, is this a misleading discussion actually? Just lobbying against cryptocurrencies, or what would be your opinion on that?
Yeah,
just in general on discussion, like cryptocurrencies is always like implicating some illegal businesses, you know.
well, it is clear or not, and something that I like, because I've been into Bitcoin since 2011, and I've been always hearing that crypto is like for drugs. I mean, you can buy drugs with crypto, that's cool.
No, I can pay drugs with sheeps. If
Yeah.
somebody wants to have sheep for drugs.
Exactly,
So, so that's actually what I'm pointing out with the question.
Actually, the token for narco traffic is not Bitcoin, it's dollars.
Thank you. I will finish it there because it's a great statement. So maybe a question for Ben, or I think so. Are we over saturation of cryptocurrencies market?
No, not at all, because the amount of money is too low. I mean, I also have insights in terms of how much trading volume you have also on the forex market. It's like 5 trillion a day, and if you look at the cryptocurrency market, it's highly leveraged because there are people who went in 2011, 2012, and the underlying value of this kind of whole valuation of the complete market is kind of leveraged, you know, because I had maybe 10K in 2012, which is worth now 50 million, and it's reflected as 50 million, you know, so the underlying money value is still very, very low. So there is no oversaturation at all. I mean, and also I heard that's like just 30 million people trading crypto or something. So
it's a small market.
It's
to
a
be
small
honest,
market.
then it's a very small market.
It's a very interesting, exciting young market, but it's super, super small. Yep.
Yeah. So we are actually doing a big bubble over a market that is so small size that actually, if there was not be a cryptocurrency, then it's a normal financial derivative. It wouldn't be. We wouldn't talk about
and
it.
If some hedge funds would move
Exactly.
into crypto, then you know it would explode.
It
like,
would,
and they can
exactly.
control. This is the biggest risk in general. The small amount of money and value.
Yeah. So we have also a real toxic product into the market, which we are not talking about, and they have a higher volume than a cryptocurrency market. Okay. Yes, please. Sorry, Sarah.
I do agree with what you said, but it's true that the market is very, very distorted right now. I mean, you can see like Dogecoin has a huge market cap. I don't remember. There's a lot of vaporware currencies that are being traded. I mean, it's nothing compared to the old markets, but it's definitely, there's a lot of just things that don't have any value and aren't being used, but they have just because people want to trade it, and maybe I think this market will grow, but right now it's in a very strange phase. I mean, I understand why, like, it's great that now like anyone can go and trade a cryptocurrency. You can't just go and trade stocks, and there is a demand for it, but it is an absurd market.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, okay, thank you. The next question: if there is a dispute about anything regarding assets recorded in a blockchain, aren't we back at the normal system with lawyers, etc.? I hope so, since I'm a lawyer myself, so I hope I will have to do something in the future. So who would like to touch this?
Yeah, I would like to touch on this because we're exactly working on this. Like I think base 0 or base 1 solutions like blockchains have to be mutable, have to be very neutral, but then you can build anything on top of it for dispute resolution.
Yes.
So we're actually working on something called the Aragon Network, which is going to be like a digital jurisdiction with its own Supreme Court and stuff like that.
Yes.
With a very neutral and basic constitution of what things are right and what things are not. And then from that, you can build your own like sub-jurisdictions with its own like dispute arbitration systems. So I think at the base 0 or 1 layer, it's fine that they are just like the blockchains are neutral and transparent. As Luke from our team says, you can build democracy on anarchy, but you cannot build anarchy on democracy.
Yeah, thank you. If I can pick up on that, I also think that actually you, in the future, over the distributed ledger, you won't need lawyers or intermediates anymore on the standard businesses or standard dispute, you know, because the standard dispute is not going to be there anymore because it's a transparent system. But where you will need lawyers and maybe intermediates are really very highly sophisticated transactions or highly sophisticated kind of businesses where actually the lawyers or any other intermediates will just become another role and not dealing with just standard stuff, because that's just something that's going to drop out completely. Maybe you want to pick up on this.
I agree, and I think the second generation of blockchains like Ethereum can kind of handle this issue where you have smart contracts that can understand when conditions have been met to execute a transaction. And then, like you mentioned, lawyers kind of just being there on a more high level, not dealing with this kind of just standard process. And the same with banks, as I mentioned earlier.
Okay. Next question is, do you believe that Bitcoin will be the one? Ben, it's a question for you. It's a question for you, Sarah.
I say it's an icebreaker. That's it. It was perfect for PR. If I knew it, I would go. I don't know. I would be maybe very rich then in some time. I don't know. Like
you leave it open.
No, that's a very tough question.
Sarah, you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, I think that right now there's nothing in the horizon that can replace it.
Yep.
There's very few, if you want good money, it has to be decentralized governance, and there's maybe 2 coins that are actually decentralized. Ethereum isn't decentralized, so I don't think it's good money. You have Bitcoin and Monero, maybe there's 1 or 2 more. So yeah, so right now Bitcoin is like, it also is, it's being built out. It seems that right now there's no replacement for it, but I guess I can't predict the future.
So thanks to Satoshi Nakamoto on this question,
Yeah.
and we move.
I have an
Sorry.
opinion on that too.
I'm so sorry, please. Yes,
No
of
problem. So I think with Bitcoin, the thing that's interesting about it is its simplicity and its design. The founder, we don't know who he, she, or they are, and it doesn't really matter. There's also the fact that it has almost double the market cap of Ethereum, yet there's no salespeople or marketing team for Bitcoin. It's just pure network effects, which is what we think of when we think of decentralization and kind of how tokens should appreciate in value. But the thing with Bitcoin that I think it suffers from is governance issues. When it comes to questions about scaling, and you pretty much have a lack of consensus among miners so that you can have these forks, and there's just a lot of confusion in the public. If you look at Bitcoin.com, which is owned by Roger Ver, who promotes Bitcoin Cash, that kind of thing is just really, really confusing. And I think as far as the development community, I think most of the brightest and sharpest developers are actually building on Ethereum. So that's also something that I see being an issue with Bitcoin.
Okay, thank you. So in the next question, I think we have time for 2 another questions. And as I can see also from the questions, there's really a run on the cryptocurrency on the financial system. Nobody's talking about smart contracts, supply chain management actually there, where blockchain can really do some efficiency efforts or whatever. But let's move what the audience wants to. So what do you think will be the future of fiat money? Who would like to answer this question? Sarah?
Yes,
please.
I think it's clearly dying system for a lot of reasons, because it's debt-based, because it's you can't trust it, because people are sick of the fractional reserve of the central banks. I think that's like the only thing I'm sure of is that fiat money is dying, like more than I'm sure that Bitcoin is the one currency.
Okay. Another opinion on this, or everybody's just nicking?
Yeah, I was in New York last week, and a couple of places that I went to just to have lunch, they said they don't accept cash. So I think we're moving already in that direction, where, if you think of it, when paper money was introduced in Europe in the Middle Ages, it took hundreds of years to actually get people to adopt it, because it just blew their mind that paper could be a store of value. People had been used to gold and silver and whatnot. And same with credit cards. They were actually introduced in the 1950s, but it wasn't maybe until the early 2000s where you saw people, using it frequently and repeatedly like cash. So I think it's just a matter of time. I think the rate of adoption of cryptocurrencies is going to be much faster than what we saw with credit cards, debit cards, and also fiat.
Which is very interesting what you're saying, because the US are the country with the most paper money in place, actually, and with the worst track of transactions and everything, because there is so much of really paper money in place. Dimitri, you wanted to pick up on this?
Yeah, just a quick remark. I've been trying to remember when I was using cash money for the last time, and I just couldn't,
Yeah.
That's
you
that's
may
kind
buy
of
me a coffee now with euros.
Yeah.
I'll borrow you some of them.
Yeah, I think that someday even cards will be replaced.
Yes. Okay, so now we run out of time, and I will really thank you so much, guys, for joining me on the panel. It was really a great discussion. To the audience, if you want to talk to them, we have time afterwards. Thank you.